It might be familiar to you in cases like the Westgate or the Al-Shabaab attack in Kenya for quite a decade now, situations which are quite traumatizing. What could be triggering an individual to take a drastic measure or perhaps even venture in such a place? That's why we're discussing the issues, the root cause of violent extremism. And today we have a wonderful guest who is Hussein Abdul Razak, and he's the founder of GYP, which is the Global Youth Project, here in Al Shifa Online TV with me, Dalila Hamza. Remember that the show is the Umbrella Show. Thank you very much for hosting us, Mr.
Yes.
Hussein. How are you?
I'm very much okay. Thank you so much for hosting me as well in this particular program. And it's a privilege for me to be here. Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you a lot. You're a man of achievements, you know, being a HR in Imperial Education Consultant and also being the top 100 influence in Muslim in 2019. This is quite a big achievement to you. Let's talk about how your journey has been in the Global Youth Projects.
Well, thank you so much. I'm quite humbled. My journey, or Global Youth Project journey, started back in 2012. This one was on, I graduated from high school, from Light Academy International. And from my background, I've always had a vision of doing something in the community for the youth. And this is in relation to my background. I lost my parents at the age of 7. My dad passed away at the age of 7, and my mom passed away when I was 8 years old.
So sorry about that.
Yes, it's part of life. Doing to sort it's the same path that we'll go through as well to leave this world. So through that particular journey, I went through a lot of ups and downs. Was raised by my grandmother, and I witnessed quite a lot of things in that particular time, from depression, from moving from a normal lifestyle to poverty, lack of school fees. And I could have easily turned out to be a gangster. I could have easily turned out to be a street boy, or I could have easily ended up in terrorist organizations. But however, I worked hard, and when I finished Form 4, I asked myself, what is it that I can do? Because society did a lot for me, from my family, and as well as the schools I went to. I earned a scholarship through working hard at Light Academy. And I told myself, if the society has given me all this, what is it that I can do for fellow youth? Because I believe there are so many youth who are hopeless, who are going through difficulties. So I founded Global Youth Projects Organization. By then it was called Focus Muslim Youth Organization. And the reason why, the main purpose was to change the narrative of the youth, especially from the coastal region, that they are lazy, they are more into violent extremism, mama's baby boys and mama's baby girls, the people who do not want to work hard, they don't want to study. So it was the first step was to change that narrative, and the second step, the second reason was to be able to be somebody who is there for the youth. The same way I did not have anybody and society was there for me, I felt like these youth who might be going through things like me need somebody to be there for them so that they can be directed. And through that particular journey, we decided to change the name in 2018. This is due to the high demand, because initially we were targeting the Muslim communities, but Mombasa and the coastal region has Christians as well, and they were interested in our programs, which our goals were 3 of them. Number 1, countering violent extremism and radicalization by building peaceful coexistence amongst the youth in Mombasa. Number 2 was mediating youth empowerment through capacity buildings and skills development. And number 3, poverty alleviation amongst the youth, the widows and young mothers in the community. So when we reached that particular level, we had demands, Christians coming to our programs, and we realized that we need to be at par with the globalization, which is the things that are changing, when we needed to embrace what we call diversity, diversity of religion, diversity of races, etc. And that's when the name Global Youth Projects came about, and then we were able to accommodate both Muslims and non-Muslim. So that is my journey, brief journey in Global Youth Projects. And the highlight of it is that over the past 5-6 years, we've been able to directly impact over 10,000 youth
Okay.
And indirectly, we've been able to impact over 20,000 youth through youth seminars, through capacity buildings, trainings, through our annual football tournament, as well as so many activities that we do, and CSR projects in orphanages and in the community. So I believe this is just some amount of information that would be enough as an introduction. Yes.
Thank you. Viewer, today we're talking about the root cause. What could be causing the violent extremism in the community? Remember that you can also give us your comments and your view concerning this. You might change your life out there, and this is an important session for both of us. Now, let's talk about what are the things that contribute to this violent extremism.
Well, from my experience in dealing with the youth, both as an individual and as a professional, I'm a life coach as well. I'm also an aspiring psychologist. So in my experience in dealing with the youth and also doing projects in the community, one of the major cause, or I'll mention 3-4 major cause factors of violent extremism in the community. One of them is maybe political ideologies, that maybe people feel like the politicians are not representing them as they should be represented. Another cause factor is maybe a religious sector or a small community sector or a small group feels like they are being, they are being exactly, that's the word I'm looking for, or they're being pressed by the police unfairly. Okay, so that's another factor. And the third factor is a major factor, which is unemployment for the youth. Unemployment, when you're unemployed, you are jobless, you are idle, and you are exposed to a lot of drugs, especially in the coastal region, because there's drugs everywhere, so people who are unemployed, they are idle. What happens? It's easy to be manipulated. Okay, so the fact that majority of them are unemployed, they easily get manipulated into these terrorist groups or gang, because I'll tell you in Mombasa there are 2 types of violent extremism. There is the domestic one and there is the terrorism one. Okay. What do I mean by domestic one? If you've heard of Wakali Kwanza, Wakali Wao, that is violence between gangs of youth from different religions, from Kisauni, and then they terrorize residents in the community. That is a form of violent extremism. And when you follow up deeply into the reason for that, is because they are unemployed and they feel that there is an equal opportunity of resources for them both to be employed and also to run their businesses.
On the part of unemployment, just the other day currently, PS Nancy Karigitu said that some of the youths, especially here in Coast Region, they don't know how to speak English. That's why they do not attain jobs. Could you give your view on that?
Well, what I'll tell you is, education is something that for a long time has been defined in a wrong way in Africa, especially in Kenya. And to be educated, most of us think that to be educated is to be able to speak English the way you and I speak, or like the Western people speak. But the biggest question, first and foremost, my response to that is I don't agree with the PS in regards to her sentiments that somebody ought to have English to be able to get a job. A good example is I went to a school in Light Academy. Turks used to come from Turkey and they learned English while working here. We have Chinese, they build the roads, they build the railways, and they drive the train. Do they speak English? They don't speak English. And that's just another level. When you go to countries like Ukraine, Russia, they use a language other than English, and they deal with foreigners.
Let's hold it there, because I wanted to clarify that, because you talked about unemployment leading to violent extremism to some of the youth that are here.
Yes.
Yes.
So basically, if I go back to English and employment opportunities, the world is changing, especially when it comes to employment perspective. Things are changing. I recently attended a HR Core Academy conference, and they're no longer looking at just papers. They're looking at, it doesn't matter whether you can be able to speak English or not, but the fact that you can be able to express yourself, communication skills. Communication skills is not speaking in English, but it's the ability to express yourself and be understood, and be able to commit to a task, understand the information, what is required of you to be able to accomplish that task, and then accomplish it. That is more than enough to employ the youth.
Okay.
So
let's have the other reasons that might have contributed to this violent extremism,
yes.
apart from unemployment.
Well, the other reason that has contributed to this is, unfortunately, as much as many people would not love to hear this, I believe is parenting. Our parents are very busy in this generation. And I do not fully blame them for being busy and chasing, they're busy, they want to provide for us. But they have been so busy in the essence that they think that parenting is being able to provide financial support, put food on the table and clothes, to the extent that they have ignored the fact that the youth need a listener.
Yeah.
Okay? So when it comes to parenting, there are three parts. The parents who don't listen to the youth at all. I'm giving you this, you're having this, and you have to listen to everything I do. So this youth gets frustrated, he goes to Maskani, does drug, and then somebody comes and tell him do this, do that. And when he's idle and all this, he doesn't have the right guidance, because the parent is the person supposed to guide you rightly.
Yeah.
This youth ends up getting the wrong guidance from fellow youth out there, maybe who have been radicalized, okay? Or from terrorist groups who maybe are recruiting. And since he's frustrated, he finds it like he's been, his mind has been manipulated, and he feels like, okay, so if I engage in being in Al-Shabaab, if I die in this process, I will get paradise. So why not? Okay? So I believe that parenting is one of them, and one of that is when our parents change the aspect of commanding the student and the youth and listen to them, it can change. The second aspect of it in regards to parenting is, as I started, the parents are not there for the youth. Okay, and their absence in the youth's life is what is leading to the youth getting guidance from the wrong people. Okay, and when you get advice from the wrong people or peer pressure and influence, then already automatically it makes the youth vulnerable. And when I talk about this, I'm going to talk about the mental health side. Maybe your kid, you have given them everything, but maybe they're being cyberbullied in school. Cyberbullying from social media, or being physically bullied in school. Or those youth who are done with school, they have done degree, but they're frustrated. You're giving them everything, they're still living in your house, but they're frustrated. They don't have a job, they don't have money, they want to get married. So the fact that you are absent and they lack your emotional support makes them vulnerable to vices that push them towards violent extremism. So these are some of the major factors that push youth towards violent extremism. Maybe one last addition is poverty. Okay, poverty, when somebody is poor, it goes back to not having a job, but the poverty, the fact that you don't have a life, or maybe you have a life but you are trying to be somewhere but you don't have the resources to get there, and somebody comes to you and tells you, if you go fight for Al-Shabaab, I'll give you this, or that is terrorism. Or if you look at domestically, if you join that youth gang, Kibokoni, from Kibokoni or from Old Town, then what you can do is you can terrorize residents, get phones, sell them, or get money from ladies' purse or people that you terrorize, because that's part of violent extremism. You get money and then you buy the things that you need. So you look at that particular perspective. Poverty has also been a major factor, because if you look at the background of those who've been pulled towards violent extremism, not all of them, majority of them are people who are coming from either broken families or people coming from poor families. Like, they have no any other way out. So if I engage in this and I'll get quick money, easy money, and if I die in this I will get paradise, that's what they've been lied to, or etc., then well and good, I'll join in it. So these are some of the major causes that are pushed the youth towards violent extremism. And there's so many factors, but these are the major ones as for what I feel and from my experience that I've been able to engage with the youth outside there. Yes.
A lot of youth always been like an eye for an eye, like vengeance and all that. The isolation, let's talk about the isolation when a particular person just tends to just feel like they're marginalized completely. Have you ever gotten such a person, or have you ever spoke to such a person before?
If you could come again, I want to understand that I got the question right. Do you mean that isolation is one of the signs of violent extremism? Somebody who is heading there.
I'm talking about. Have you ever gotten somebody in such a kind of situation? And when you get such a person in the kind of situation, you'll tell us shortly. What are the other signs that you know that this particular person is involving themselves in violent extremism?
Well, I don't mean to be controversial, but I'll be very honest with you. I've met one or two people I will not mention them, but from their past experiences. Maybe harassment from the police, okay? Maybe one of their parents was harassed by the police, or one of their relatives, or a brother, or was killed by the police. And then the other one is maybe somebody that they follow, somebody maybe a sheikh or somebody, you know, somebody that they really value so much, who is an influence in their life, was unfairly contradicted, or maybe they did not have information why this person was taken or was killed, or etc. I've met a few people who've been engaged, who have gone through that, and the pain they carry, okay, the trauma they carry, leads them to start isolating themselves. The other thoughts they start having is, you know, an eye for an eye, as you mentioned it, revenge with revenge. And the reason for this is they go to court, the case is there, they don't see the evidence as to why I lost my uncle, or I lost my relative, or I lost my friend, or I lost that particular person. And the case keeps on going, and it keeps on frustrating, and it's the fact that they don't get haki yao. That's what they talk about. That's what they mention, the exact word. Hajapata haki yake kotini. Okay? The fact that the cases that we engage in the court, they take a long time, and they're tedious, and they're tiring, and at the end of the day, there is no result on this side to justify this person that you lost was in the wrong. At the same time, on this side, you can also not justify that this person was also innocent, okay? So in that particular pull and push, this person gets frustrated and opts for, the best solution is for me to revenge on my own, take responsibility, matters into my own hands. I'll give a good example. During 2007 post-election violence, we saw, and we keep on seeing police brutality, okay, happening in Kenya. And this is one of the major factors that has pushed youth towards particular, maybe losing a parent. For example, Baby Pendo, if you remember Baby Pendo, yes, in 2017 election, he was shot by mistake. So imagine if the mother carried that weight of pain and anger more and more and more, and the case did not get solved because this was a kid who was shot by mistake, okay? What if that anger would have pushed her to start doing violent acts and start rebelling? So this is one of the major factors, and if you ask me some of the signs other than isolation, the other factor is you'll get this person trying to post extreme ideologies. This particular person will separate themselves from other people. This particular person will not find it easy to turn their views when they're in discussions, and when it comes to matters like this, they will always have strong, strict views that they do not want to even bend from them. So these are some of the signs of these particular people. And one last sign is they always look depressed, they look low, and they have anger issues. They easily get triggered.
Too much anger can cause it too.
Yes, so much anger because they did not get justice. That's the what I was looking for. And they don't know where to take this frustration to, so they opt either, I'll take this frustration through gang violence, or I'll take out this frustration through terrorism. Because one of the mistakes we've had is terrorism is about religion. No. Some of the terrorists, if you look at foreign and even in Kenya, some of them have always been due to revenge of an activity that took place, maybe something that happened that brought misfortune to their family. So the best way, if I join Al-Shabaab, maybe Al-Shabaab's aim is different, but well and good, I'll also be able to revenge on whatever I faced or my family faced. So one of them is anger. And when you see this person, normally he was normal, but he gets angry quickly.
He's like, Hussein, get out of here.
Yes, and it's not just a matter of get out of here, they're quick to throw the punch.
Okay.
They're really easy, quick to throw the punch, quick to take out the knife, quick to take out the panga. These are some of the signs of somebody who's heading towards violent extremism. One last thing maybe is using drugs. Because for you to be able to do those acts, it needs you to be able to be maybe umefikia level ya chini kabisa, and drugs is the only way, the place that they find their sanity. Okay? So from my experience and from my engagement with the youth, the two of them that I was able to engage with, I have engaged with more but on a deeper level, because as a youth counselor that I was able to counsel, one of them is because they had lost a relative. Another one is because they'd lost a loved one, a dear one, okay? So in the essence of the fact that they did not get justice, they opted for revenge. And I started seeing the signs, because I asked them, why is it that you're so bitter nowadays? Why do you keep to yourself? Why is it that nowadays you post certain kinds of ideologies on your social media? Why is it that you are so rigid to even accommodate other people's views? And then when I got to listen to them, to listen to their stories, I realized that there was more than just being angry, more than just being, pissed off or, isolating themselves.
Yeah.
It's because they were looking for justice. And the only way they could get that justice is to do that. And I'm not saying the justice is justified. No. Violence with violence is in itself violent extremism. You cannot fight out fire with fire. Okay? You need to use either wisdom, diplomacy, and this is where we organize diplomatic projects. Our annual youth football tournament at Global Youth Projects, it's usually to build peaceful coexistence of youth from these various areas that have been affected by violent extremism. And we talk to them about conflict resolution, diplomatic relations, and how to solve matters other than using violence, other than an eye for an eye. You don't need to isolate yourself. If it becomes too much, seek guidance from somebody, talk to somebody. So these are some of the signs of somebody who is heading towards violent extremism. So if you spot somebody who is isolating themselves, who is having strict views now, all of a sudden he has radical views, he's rigid, he's violent, getting angry with ease, and he's starting to use drugs, and this is somebody wasn't using drugs before, then you need to, those are what you call triggers, there are warnings, yes. We call them red flags to violent extremism. So you need to start reaching out and be patient with them and find a way forward. I think you'll ask the question on how we can be able to engage them, and we find a way to guide the youth who are heading there or who have not been able to get into that particular level. Yes.
If you tune in, this is The Umbrella. Remember, today we're talking about violent extremism and how these individuals take the abrupt decision to use violence with violence. And this is quite a phenomenon which we need here and everywhere to gather and make sure that we help these people out, because they're in a state that they cannot be able to handle themselves. We're discussing it right here with Hussein Abdul Razak, who is the founder of Global Projects Youth. You can also send your comments or questions and we'll be answering you. Hussein,
yes.
Let us discuss about the difference between radicalization and violent extremism.
Well, it doesn't have a big difference. When it comes to violent extremism, these are acts that confront, they're acts that pushes one, they are mainly violent acts that pushes one or confronts one into such kind of activities. While radicalization or being radicalized is the adoption of those acts. That is radicalization. You know, it starts with violent extremism. The acts, the things that push you there, maybe as you talked about marginalization, lack of justice, lack of employment, economic opportunities, lack of resources. So they push you towards that. But radicalization, now you're being enacted into it. The feeling kicks in. You're being radicalized, okay? You get into the act itself now. And radicalization is not just a matter of you getting into the act itself. It's also a matter of you adopting those beliefs and then sharing with the others, trying to influence others to adopt those beliefs. So radicalization is more of the belief is now being instilled into your mind. Okay? While violent extremism are more focused on the acts. Okay? The acts that lead there. So I don't know if I've answered your question or I need to elaborate it further.
No, for our viewer, because maybe for the first time a viewer is asking him or herself, like, especially the youth, like, what is this violent extremism is, and they hear some other saying about radicalization. Maybe if you give them with samples, they'll be able to understand a bit.
Well, I'll give an example of violent extremism. For example, these are actions that somebody would take up to justify their, maybe, for example, I'll talk about if my parents were killed in the name of maybe terrorism by the police. I will take an action and kill, maybe bomb a police station, okay, or kill maybe the person who killed my parents. That is violent extremism, because it's an act that we do to justify that whatever happened. Another example is It might be religious belief, okay? It might be political belief. Maybe you believe that this, and I'll give an example. For example, BBI, the BBI initiative. And if I believe that the BBI should not stand completely, okay? And I believe that the BBI does not serve me, what do? I will take an action against BBI. E.g., maybe rallies of BBI, I will go bomb them, okay? Maybe, e.g., another example, I know a leader who advocates for BBI, I will organize for a crime action against him. So it's an action against something, an ideology that differs from you. Now, when it comes to radicalization is more of adopting the belief that, for instance, Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab, they believe that killing people and bombing people, like if something happens that we need to revenge by doing this. So radicalization is the fact that I will adopt those beliefs to be, yes, it is true on whatever Al-Qaeda is doing. Nothing can convince me otherwise, okay? Another state example in regards to radicalization is, for instance, I remember the Kaya Bombo. It was because of the Costarians, we as the Costarians, we believe that we needed our land, our resources to be left to us, right? So when it now, if I'll give an example for these two, violent extremism and radicalization. So there are people who believed that Wabara warudi kwao, watuachie resources zetu, okay? And they advocated for this. Yes, it's true. That's radicalization, being radicalized, because it's an extreme ideology in the mind, okay? Then those who took action, kukata watu mapanga, kuwafukuza, etc., that's violent extremism. Took action against those people who own land and resources in the coast. I don't know now if you got the difference.
Indeed,
now.
Very much.
Yes.
Hussein.
Yes.
In Global Youth Project.
Yes.
Let's talk about, does the government help you out, or do you get a resource? Where do you get your financially support from?
Majorly, we get the government helps us through the county government. We've partnered with them in a lot of projects, including our annual youth seminar, capacity building, and sports annual football tournament. So the government supports us, the county government, and the CDF offices. Like one of our major support is the Mvita CDF. Honorable Abdulsamad Sharif Nasir, his office has been very supportive, not only to our organizations, but to many youth groups out here. And then the other sources of funds or financial support or resource wise, I call it strategic partnership. We've had strategic partnership with various stakeholders, companies like Mombasa Maize Millers, like banks, various banks. We've had partnership with companies like NGOs like Muhuri, Haki Africa. So basically it's strategic partnership with various organizations to achieve our objectives, and that's how we are able to mobilize the resources, as well as a few international organizations like Green Crescent Society, being a Young African Leadership Initiative, YALI alumni. Also we get funding opportunities to apply for Commonwealth. So basically these are some of the people who've been able to support us as we do some of these projects. Yes.
From grassroots, let's take a look at the areas, the rural areas in your organization. Do you go to those kinds of people, the ones who are not even able to join you in social media, like see how vocal you've been in fighting violent extremism? What do you do about those kinds of people?
Well, our major target audience are vulnerable youth and vulnerable widows. And we've been able to go to areas as deep as Mwakirunge, yes, Likoni, and past Likoni, Kwale County, sorry. And we've also been able to go to areas like Kisauni. And one of the activities that we've been able to do in those particular areas is programs to do with sports activities and sometimes capacity building. We usually organize a capacity building program, which is a program that trains the youth on mastering the art of self-leadership and character development, which has been developed for us by growing leaders from the United States of America. So for that, we go, we organize it in town, but I will not lie to you, is that we go to the grassroots and we pick at least 5 of them they come, we train them, and then they do the training there. It is in our plans that from next year, we will be having what we call a strategic partnership with an organization headed by Harun Mwadema. He does programs in the grassroots of Kilifi and Mombasa. So what we're going to do is we have like support groups, okay? And we get to discuss what are some of the issues that the youth are going through, how can we help them, and then offer them mastering the art of self-leadership and character development. Because if you can master the art of leading yourself and leading your life and develop your character, then you cannot easily be swayed into violent extremism. So in the meantime, we've done a few programs within there, but mainly we focused on training ambassadors, representatives of CBOs from those areas like Sisters for Justice. It deals with programs in Kisauni, okay? So we train their executives, and they submit the information to the grassroots level. In Mwakirunge, we do it ourselves. We've gone to Mwakirunge, if you're aware. It's the last end of Mombasa. And in Likoni, we've done it ourselves. But it is in our plans to be able to expand and partner with other various community-based organizations to be able to empower them. Because we can only chew as much as we can swallow. To be able to empower them so that they can be able to empower the others in the grassroots. Yes.
Let's talk about the numbers that join violent extremism, mainly maybe the statistic, if you have them, like is it women or men, or how many cases have you heard so far? The people who are the main target of these people, like the Al-Shabaab organization, the ones when they're together, which kind of group are they targeting maybe?
I will be honest, I would not like to sugarcoat. I don't have the exact numbers, but as for the last time we did the research, the highest number of those vulnerable to join these groups and targeted are young men. Okay, young men, because they are more frustrated, they don't have jobs, etc. Though the last time I checked the statistics, there has been an increase in number of women into violent extremism and radicalization, becoming radicalized. So as per from my previous research, I don't have the exact numbers, and when I don't have the exact numbers, I don't like mentioning what I do not have. I'll tell you is that the majority of those who are easily swayed into it are our men, young men, because they're the providers in the home. So they're swayed by bonuses that, you know, if you get this, your family will get this, and maybe you're given a short-term contract. I told you serve after a certain time, then you can go back and be with your family, and they look at it as a shortcut for life. And others, because they're frustrated. As we all know, majority of the drug users, the majority of those who are idle are the boy child, okay? So most of them are the ones who are easily swayed into it, and they're the ones who have been affected majorly. However, there has been an increasing trend in the number of women who are also joining those violent groups like Al-Shabaab, ISIS, some of them getting married to them, some of them serving as fighters, etc., etc., yes.
It's a change now that a lot of youth are in the forefront trying to fight this violent extremism from all around. The coming projections of the organizations, what are you planning to do in order to fight it more in the coming years?
Well, our goal is to have a capacity building incubation center. And now, what is this capacity building incubation center? And it's not only going to be in town, it's to have capacity building incubation centers in the rural areas, especially in the hotspots of violent extremism, whereby, like for example in Mombasa, you'd say Kibokoni Old Town is a hotspot, you'd say Kisauni is a hotspot, you'd say Likoni is a hotspot, and those hotspots. So what will this capacity building incubation center be doing? This will be a safe space for the youth. What do I mean by a safe space? Safe from vices that will push them into violent extremism and radicalization, e.g. Drug abuse, lack of employment opportunities, idleness. So how are we going to contribute to lack of that? By being in that capacity building incubation center, number one, that particular youth will be capacitated. They'll be gaining skills, either vocational skills, entrepreneurship skills, digital skills, or leadership skills. Okay? So when they gain these skills, they are able to lead their life in the right direction. At the same time, they are also able, because for somebody not to be easily manipulated and driven into that particular level, they need to be educated. They need to be not only educated, but they need to be kept busy, involved in other activities, not just seated idly. So the Capacity Building Incubation Center will be a safe space. At the same time, they'll be gaining skills. Okay, skills, leadership skills, as I've said, entrepreneurship skills, and vocational skills and digital training skills. And then thirdly, it will also be a place like a hub that connects them with opportunities. It is not enough to give somebody entrepreneurship skills, digital skills, leadership skills, vocational skills, without connecting them with the opportunities to practice what they've learned. Because it's like umenifundisha. That's why what we have so many in violent extremism. We even have graduates getting into them. Why? He's graduated, he doesn't have a job. He's well educated, but he doesn't have a job. He's frustrated, he's idle. Okay, what happens? He's easily swayed there. So for us, we're going to partner. We're already in the process of partnering with Swahili Port Hub, and then Global Opportunity Youth Network, as well as county government, so that whoever we have empowered in that particular area gets to get maybe an internship somewhere. Or we partnered with, like from Mombasa County, last year we partnered with them. They're offering bursaries, 70%. They pay for your fees. You get a scholarship to be educated in vocational courses. Then after that, Abdul Samad Sharif Nasir, in his initiative, he also offers, he pays 60% of your fees. So imagine county government pays 70, he pays 60. That's already 130% paid. But Abdul Samad goes to the extent that when you graduate with good grades and you work hard, he groups you in a certain group, maybe 10 people. He gives you the resources. Maybe you're an electrical wireman or a carpenter, you've done carpentry. He gives you the resources, the finances, the registers your business. You get training by partnering with the organization that KYOBT, if you know it. They partner with them, and then you get that particular training, and then you get the resources and you start your life. Can't you see the difference in that?
Yeah.
You're teaching this person how to fish. You're giving him the fishing tools, and you're throwing him into the Indian Ocean.
Now it's
time for you. You know how to fish. You have the tools. It's time for you to fish. This is what we have in our goals in the long term. We will have these capacity building incubation centers. These are the services we'll offer for them, and then strategic partnership with the likes of Honorable Abdul Samad Sharif Nasir, Mombasa County Government, and other organizations who are advocating for this and empowering the youth. And we connect them with opportunities, be it a job, entrepreneurship, further training, advanced training, or activities that will just keep them from being idle and keep them from people influences that they can be able to be influenced with that. So that is one of our long-term goal that we have in countering violent extremism. Yes.
Let's talk about all the youth who's looking at you at the moment, who wants to join the Global Youth Project but do not know how or where to start.
Well, if the Global Youth Project is open for everybody. Anybody would like to join, we have our Instagram page, which is globalyouthprojects.ke. We have Twitter account, it's globalyouth.ke, and our Facebook page is Focus Muslim Youth. It hadn't changed the name up to now. So through those social media platforms, you can be able to reach out to us, and we can be able to incorporate you into our programs, as well as you can contact 0706-246-508, which is our contact, and we can be able to guide you further. And from wherever you are, we have members as far as in Sudan, Tanzania, some are in Turkey, some are in Uganda. So we have various members from different parts of the world. And the most important part is, if you want to be part of this journey, we can empower you, and then we actually ask you or show you how you can be able to start a branch of Global Youth Project from wherever you are, and you help the others. Because our vision is to live, we believe in living in a world in which the youth operate at their natural best, both in leading, serving, and inspiring change, and doing so for themselves. So once we've empowered you as part of Global Youth Projects, your responsibility is to go back to your area, because we can only chew as much as we can swallow. You cannot chew more than we can swallow. So if from wherever you are, wherever you're watching, feel free. We can train you, like we are currently working with a group from Mandera. Yes, it's called Productive Muslim Youth. We are empowering them, the executives, and they're going back and conducting these programs in those particular areas in Mandera as well. Yes.
Hussein, what are the main challenges do you face as an organization? Because I believe as much as you have all those efforts, there are the challenges that you face.
Well, the world, only through challenges we get to grow. And I'll tell you, some of the challenges we face are resource mobilization at times, financial, because some finance, for all these programs to take place, you need finances and resources. So the major challenge is resources and finances. The second challenge is we want to have our own permanent physical space. Yes, we've partnered so far. We have a physical space at Mewa and then another one at Old Town. But we need to have our own permanent physical space that whereby we can be able to do our activities. And the last challenge we face is basically policies that do not favor development of the youth. And with this, we are trying to work with the county government. This year, we were involved in developing economic policies that enhance youth economic empowerment. But the policies that are there are policies that do not enhance development of the youth. And that's one of the challenges we face, but we hope to be able to change. So what I'll say is from these challenges, for those who are listening, if we have strategic partners who have the same ambitions and vision as us and would like to tackle the goals and objectives we are doing, they are welcome. We don't need the finances. Of course, we need finance, but it's not that we want the cash. You can come in and give resources, maybe a physical space, or maybe what is your budget for the whole year, and maybe these are the tools that you need, the materials you need, and then we give you provide the materials. Our aim, because this is a non-profit, is to reach out to the community, to the youth, and provide guidance to them, because we believe that if these youth are moved away from violent extremism and are well empowered and get the right direction, then we can pave way for a strong economic growth for Mombasa County, for Coast Province, and for Kenya at large. Because we all know with peace, security, and youth empowerment being in it, then of course the economic empowerment will grow and we'll be able to achieve what we call the demographic dividend as well. Okay. Yes.
Let's get your last remark to our viewer as a bit further, because my director is telling me at the moment time is not with us. Your last remark, Hussein?
My last remark is, if it is to be, it is up to me. That's my favorite quote. So to the youth outside there, I'll start with you. The first thing you need to know is that your life is your own responsibility. As much as you might be facing a lot of challenges, as much as you might be having financial repercussions or financial challenges, as much as the economic opportunities are not available for you out there, my advice for you is that you should look beyond that. If it is to be, it is up to me. What is it that you can do about it to change this particular situation that you are in? Because you are your own responsibility before your parents, before the leaders in the community, even before the teachers. To the community, let us hold hands together to be able to assist our youth. Because our youth are not the leaders of tomorrow, but they're the leaders of today. If we invest wisely in the resources we have today, which are our youth, they can innovatively lead to the economic growth and as well as social development of our community, and we can live in peace and have sustainable growth. To our leaders, it's high time we stop giving sweet promises to the youth that we do not implement. The youth are okay with you leading, but they want you to include them in the table and listen to their voice. And this is why I call myself the voice of the African youth, because there's so many youth who want to be listened to be heard, but not just to be heard, to be part of the decision making in the board. So incorporate the youth, because the youth are the ones who can influence others out there. So with all this is the advice I have for the listeners and for the stakeholders and for everybody out there who's fighting to be able to have a better Kenya for a better tomorrow. And to the organizers of this particular interview, Ashifa TV, if I'm not wrong, I'd like to also give you a feedback or a challenge to keep up with the good work, because through this way is the only way you can be able to inspire the youth. We live in a digital generation, and congratulations for you guys reaching out to organize something like this that can be able to inspire the youth. Because when this gets to YouTube and Instagram, I'm sure majority of them will be inspired. And if we can only change one youth, just one youth to decide who was maybe in the verge of joining a violent extremism group, because they have no benefit at all. At the end of the day, you are the one who's at loss and you will hurt many people. Then that one person is enough for us as a success story that we can be able to be proud of. That's what I have to add or have to say.
Thank you. We always say that accountability is a reflection of responsibility. Thank you very much for joining us in this interaction and this discussion we've had about the violence extremism. It is my hope and prayer that everything we do not exclude others, especially at this particular time. I'm Dalila Hunter. Meet you next time.